life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, and looks like we have Ninja, looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, good to see you, man. And yeah, welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder.
And if you are back, a returning viewer like Ninja, welcome back. If you're new to our little show, what we usually do is we'll start off with a thing of the week. This is a particular media that we have been consuming over the past, the past week. Then we get into some talk about box office and DEG, and follow up with the topics.
Yes,
And
we're an eclectic mix of review show, some news of the week, and this week, and I think I might have stepped on Daniel's foot as if I'd mentioned this, we're going to do the first of what might be a recurring feature where we profile an independent entertainment company and just kind of figure out, okay, how they emerge from outside of the system and what lessons can we learn from them as we try to produce our own creative endeavors.
exactly, yeah, and it should be a that should be a really fun segment to do in the coming weeks, or months, or however long we decide to do it for.
See, the trick with this one is it requires finding a candidate and having the ability to do some research. So it requires a little bit more effort than being upset about Bud Light, which we haven't done, but
Yeah.
it requires a bit more effort than off the cuff responses.
Yeah.
And now I see why the mainstream media has abandoned reporting in favor of commentary. Bazing.
Yeah. Well, yes. So, but to get into our show here, I'm of course starting with our thing of the week. So I went back and watched Star Trek Generations. I hadn't watched this movie in a while. 5, maybe 10 years. There's kind of a reason for that. But yeah. So if you've never seen this movie before, this is the first movie featuring the cast from The Next Generation. It was also kind of a passing of the torch type thing between the original series crew and the Next Generation crew. The movie starts off with the maiden voyage of the Enterprise B, and where Kirk, Scotty, and Chekhov are there to celebrate it. Although, and if you don't already know this, it wasn't actually supposed to be Scotty and Chekhov. It was supposed to be Spock and Bones.
But they said no.
Well, Nimoy said no. DeForest Kelley, sadly, his health was declining, so he couldn't do it.
That's nature saying no.
Yeah, that's nature saying no. Yeah, but yeah. So, but of course, they didn't change the.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah, so it's like you have Chekhov and Scotty talking, like bantering, like McCoy, like
Spock and McCoy, yeah,
like Spock and McCoy, yeah,
yeah, and then like like Scotty talking about life signs phasing in and out of the space time continuum, and coming up with a way for the ship to escape the gravimetric field, and it's like no, that's all stuff Spock would come up with.
Through the lens of late TNG technobabble.
Right. And and of course, Chekhov suddenly became a doctor. But anyway, so they run into trouble, and then Kirk is the ship gets damaged, and Kirk is presumed dead. Then they flash forward to the Next Generation crew. They get a distress call from a space station that was attacked by the Romulans. And there they meet one of the scientists, Dr. Tolian Soren, who was, of course, rescued by the Enterprise B in the beginning of the movie, played by Malcolm McDowell.
That guy who was the villain in every 90s movie.
Yes. And so he wants to go back to the station because he has a very important experiment that he's running on this star. And then he ends up going back, and they figure he shoots a probe into the star, causes a supernova, and they figure out, and then of course probably the moment where I really checked out of this movie was when the Klingons show up. It was like, again with the Klingons. But and then because Soren's working with the Klingons, and it's specifically the Duras sisters. If you watch the Next Generation, the Duras sisters were kind of like these reoccurring Klingon villains, and they were the Duras family and Worf's family were rivals, and Worf never talks about them at all. Like, he never acknowledges them at all, which is so strange. It's just like you put them in the movie for a reason. It's just like, yeah. Anyway,
that little bit of fan service that didn't actually add to the plot at all.
No, it didn't. They were kind of, it was pointless to have them there. Well, it's pointless to have the Klingons. Just have them be have them be Romulans, or have them be somebody else. Like, just
right, because as memory serves, they were just there to try to investigate the thingus, right? The MacGuffin that everyone was after.
Yes, pretty much. And blow up the Enterprise. Spoiler. The Enterprise D, of course, ignominiously gets destroyed later in the movie, because they find out that Soren is trying to get is changing the path of this energy ribbon by blowing up all these suns, because the ribbon is a doorway to an alternate dimension that they call the Nexus, which is basically just this paradise of pure joy.
Now, let me ask you this question, and I had never questioned this before, having seen the movie a while back. They live in space, and they can move very, very fast. And they can move very, very fast to the point where they can jump to all these systems to blow up these stars.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just travel your spaceship into the path of the Nexus wave?
Well, they explain it in the movie that every ship that had approached the ribbon was either destroyed or severely damaged. That's the explanation.
Right. Okay, so what it has to be on a planet to get picked up by the Nexus?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's never.
Is the ribbon just metal phobic?
I guess, I don't know.
Go out in a spaceship, you dick. Or, or go out, or vent yourself out of there in a spacesuit, you dick.
Yeah. But yeah, so Picard ends up in the Nexus, and then that's where he finds Kirk.
I feel like this. I remember I was watching a movie by the YouTuber SF Debris many years ago, where he said, he had never really taken a hard side in Kirk versus Picard, but if you went by this movie, Kirk.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the way Picard was in this movie was really okay. So what happens in the start with the Next Generation crew is Picard finds out he gets devastating news that his Ninja, he got sucked up into the Nexus, from the Enterprise B,
which proves that somebody on a spaceship can survive and get into the Nexus.
Yeah.
So Soren's just a dick.
Yeah, Soren's he's just pretty much. But yeah, so Picard, he gets devastating news that his brother and nephew had died
in a fire.
In a fire, right? Yeah, and so that's just the way he is throughout the whole. Yes, he was taken from the spaceship.
Most illogical.
Yes. And so that's kind of part of the whole thing with Picard, was that he dealing with that loss, and then of course the fact that he never got married and he never had a family. Although if you watch season 3 of Picard, he does have a kid. He does have a son. Yeah.
Also, he wasn't Kirk, but he did knock his boots with enough people over the years. Remember that one? What was she? A bounty hunter, the brunette.
I don't know if she was a bounty hunter. I think she was like a
mercenary, or
I think she was
a Han Solo type.
Yeah, she was like a Han Solo type. Yeah, like a thief. Yeah.
I know she only appeared once. Maybe she's raising a little. Okay, she only appeared twice. Maybe she's raising a little Picard somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
You're more of a Trek guy than I am.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, she ran off with Q.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That was. I think I saw a review of that, Deep Space Nine, right?
Right, Deep Space Nine. Yeah. Yeah. She ran off with Q in the Robin Hood episode.
The one time that Q darkened Cisco's door because he realized, oh, you don't actually like to play. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He'll just punch Q in the face.
Just punch Q in the but yeah, so yeah. But yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of Trek fans hate this movie. For some of it's for, of course, the glaring plot holes that we just pointed out, and also too because, spoiler, Kirk dies in a very stupid way, falling from a collapsing bridge. Although I don't know if that's any better than getting shot in the back, which was how he originally died.
I think being shot in the back, at least, like, either way, Kirk should go out like a badass.
Yeah, and he didn't. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it just. But yeah, it's sad that this was the last time he played Kirk, and technically he played Kirk in that one computer game that came out not long after the movie. But I mean, this is the last time he played him in either movie or TV, and it's disappointing.
Is it better than the Kelvin timeline? Most things are better than the Kelvin timeline.
Most of them are, yeah. I would say, yeah, it's better than the Kelvin timeline, but I mean it. But yeah, it's definitely bottom of the franchise, and it's especially coming off of The Undiscovered Country, which was before this one. That movie was really good.
Yep.
But I will say, after this, we got First Contact. So,
yeah, things ebb and flow.
Yes.
So my thing of the week is really weird. So YouTuber, the Rageaholic, aka Razor Fist, a while back, got it in his head to record a couple of BattleTech audiobooks, which is strange. Like they aren't books he wrote; he just did radio plays for them, basically. He did the same thing with a couple of at least one old Shadow serial. Frankly, Guy could make a career out of it because he is. Oh, you're muting my screen. Okay. So he is very good at voicing these characters. So you might ask, the hell is a BattleTech? So BattleTech, also known as Mech Warrior, is a series that's been running since the 80s, with some interruptions here and there, set in a feudalistic space setting called the Inner Sphere, where basically there was a Star League, which was like space Rome. It collapsed, and the successor states are all trying to claim to be the first, the new Star Lord and take over their buddies. But basically, they've all ground each other's technology down to a point where, as somebody in one of the books said, we never bombed ourselves back to the Stone Age, but we got surprisingly close to the Industrial Revolution. And that actually kind of relates to what this book is about, because it's one of the House leaders, Thomas Merrick, deciding that he's kind of disturbed by how war has been going, because the technology level has been increasing as they've rediscovered some lost technology. And he's worried about war getting too mechanical, because mech warriors were kind of at times treated a bit like knights, like it was like individual, or not, basically because people were so paranoid about losing technology, they would actually like be pretty at times they would like, we took out a mech, okay, the other side withdraws and we will let them collect the pilot. like not quite chivalry, and it definitely was much nastier than that, but like some rules, but those rules seem to be going away. So Thomas Merrick gets the idea in his head that he's going to found like the friggin' Knights of the Round Table, basically in space, the Knights of the Inner Sphere. And so he gets his buddy, is it James Masters? 1 second. John Masters?
A lot of male hero characters' first names always seem to start with a J.
Paul Masters. Okay.
Yeah.
So that he was called Masters a lot in the book, so because it's a military setting, and he has him read Le Mort d'Arthur in one sitting, and he's like, "Yeah, I totally like this whole chivalry and knight things." And what's interesting about this book is that I would actually say that the mech parts of it are the weakest part. I'll get to that in a minute. Like this scene on the cover, it might have happened in the book, but it wasn't ever described, which is weird. It's weird.
It kind of sounds like Dune. Like Frank Herbert never describes the battles, like what happens in the battles. He just says the battle happened.
Well, this guy does, but it's weird in a different way. But basically, and the other weird choice he makes is that the Knights of the Inner Sphere are founded, and you would think, okay, so this story is going to be about this story is going to be about the founding of the Knights of the Inner Sphere, like maybe like some personality conflicts among the knights, and trying to set this new thing. But no, like in the middle of the ceremony to found the Knights of the Inner Sphere, Paul Masters is sent away from the other Knights of the Inner Sphere to a planet, the planet called Gibson, that's having some sort of local revolution. And the way Razor Fist describes it is, in which King Arthur's knights go to space Vietnam and kick Ho Chi Minh's ass. No, I'm not kidding. That's the premise. God, I love BattleTech. So it takes a big swerve where Paul Masters, it's like having a Lancelot type character who's trying to hold himself to a very high moral standard, being dropped into a dirty, stupid war. And just there's a lot of, for being a licensed thing aimed at teens in the 90s, there's a decent amount of contemplation of the role of technology in our lives, and what warfare has become, and what warfare could be, and the inevitability of war. It's oddly philosophical, and the part where Masters is out of his mech and dealing with these guerrillas on the ground, and basically everybody betrays him, and him having to figure out how to deal with it is probably the best part of the book. So on that part, I can strongly recommend it. On the weak side of it, it almost becomes better if you don't know anything about the setting, because it's a tabletop game, and The rules are just broken all over the place to give Masters plot armor or anti-plot armor. Like, okay, so in BattleTech, the head is the weakest part of a mech. But to compensate for this, when you're doing your dice rolls to see if you hit, you have to roll a 12, which means you only have a 1 in 36 chance of a head hit. In one of the fight scenes, Masters is up against a mech that is a whole weight class heavier than him after he's already been damaged. And his way he deals with this is he just targets the head and takes it out casually. Now, I think there are rules for called shots in the board game. It's been a while since I played, but still, that's just it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And then in the last fight, there's actually a scene where some revolutionaries are trying to fire some tactical nukes into a group of mechs, which is a big no-no for a variety of reasons. And Masters' mech had lost one of its arms, and so he was down to a couple of weapons. And as he's firing at these rebels who are trying to shoot these tactical nuke missiles, he fires them over and over again. One of the missiles is called a streak SRM missile, which the streak thing means that by game rules, you literally cannot fire and miss. Like if you fail your dice roll, the missiles do not fire. He repeatedly misses with it to build suspense. He's firing his weapons over and over again, and his mech proceeds to shut down. By the rules of the game, even if he had taken the maximum damage to his engine possible, there is no scenario where the weapons he was firing could have possibly made his mech even overheat, much less overheat to the point of shutting down for the point of drama.
Oh, jeez.
And then the other thing is that, like this battle scene here, these two mechs are not mentioned once in the book, like these two specific models. So if you're a BattleTech geek and you're like, oh man, I want to see this awesome fight, this Marauder, that sounds like a cool scene, never described. So I wonder if this was just stock art they had.
Probably, yeah.
So it's weird that this book is almost best if you go into it not knowing anything about the setting and just assuming, oh yeah, I guess you could just target the head and man, it's weird. Man, it's too bad that those missiles keep missing. Boy, I wonder what's going to happen next. But everything outside of that is just like a classic adventure story. And I don't know that Christopher Kubasik wrote any other books in the series, so it could just be that he was kind of unfamiliar with it. But either way, outside of things that would only occur to the people who are immersed in it like me, it's actually a good listen. Again, like Mr. Fist, if he ever decided to get out of the whole political YouTube thing, would have a promising career as a narrator. Because he does a wide variety of voices.
Wow. Ninja says, I would recommend the Grey Death Legion trilogy if you want a better mech action. The first book is very Dune.
Funny you should mention that, because I had never actually managed to read those before, because by the time I got into BattleTech, my local bookstores didn't have them anymore because they were old. But I did recently pick that one up on Kindle, so once I'm done rereading the Warrior trilogy, I'll probably give that one a go.
Very good.
But that's enough mech nerdery. Let's get on to numbers nerdery.
Yes.
So, last weekend, let's talk about this like we often do in order of least to most interesting. We had a few new releases. We have a documentary about BlackBerry debuting at number 11. The phone company, and if they manage to do as good of a job as some of the books I've read on that one, then that's very promising.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is probably not going to cross the 100 million at this mark, especially because it's now available on Paramount Plus for streaming.
And I'll definitely be giving that a watch at some point.
Let's see here. Knights of the Zodiac. Don't tell
Oh
me.
yeah, I was looking at that earlier.
Based on the international anime sensation. Oh, it's a live-action anime adaptation. Oof.
Uh,
Also called Saint Seiya.
yeah, I mean, excluding Alita, most of the live-action anime adaptations are garbage.
Yeah, even the ones made in Japan.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell was okay, but not great. Yeah.
Other new movie, we've got Hypnotic, which I know. Oh wait, Film Threat reviewed this one, said it was dumb.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Yeah. Weird that he also has the Air movie out that everyone's loving. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is really tanking, which is destroying any hope we might have of Ramona and Beezus cinematic universe.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently they're doing some very questionable marketing with that, with a certain person I won't name, but you.
Did this person happen to advertise Bud Light as well?
Yes.
Oof, that's a
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. That person, I watched the Bud Light clip. The mannerisms are just irritating, no matter who they were. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Right. Evil Dead Rise is holding in there, up to 60 million after a month, so
Mhm.
coming along nicely. The biggest new release is The Book Club: The Next Chapter, which had a pretty soft opening.
I don't. I'm assuming it's a sequel.
It's apparently I had never heard of the original movies, but
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of like that 80s for Brady thing where you have a bunch of classic comedians coming together.
Oh, okay.
It's a similar concept. There might even be some shared actresses with 80 for Brady, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not my genre.
Yeah. Same here.
Super Mario Brothers is starting to slow down a little bit. I mean, the fact that
Mhm.
you can buy digitally is probably not helping ticket sales.
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw it was available for digital, I thought about like us renting it and watching it, but then it was $25 to rent it, so I'm like, never
Yeah,
mind.
see, that's where they get you with this digital renting stuff. Like once the movie's old news, it's reasonable, but it's like just pay the extra $5 and own it outright digitally in case you want to
Yeah,
watch it twice.
right. Or just get in your car and go to the theater.
Right. And then the biggest box office blip of the week is Guardians of the Galaxy stubbornly refusing to follow the Marvel pattern.
Yeah, it had a very small drop.
Yeah,
It didn't tank like Ant-Man did.
yeah, and it's not doing the sad sperm whale of failure chart here. It's well, not overperforming. It's performing in line with the expectation chart here, which is very unusual for even successful Marvel movies.
Yeah. I think domestically it's already done better than Ant-Man did in its
Domestically
entire
and
run.
internationally.
Yeah.
Ant-Man could not cross 470. Guardians of the Galaxy is at 545.
Yeah.
Now it's here. So now the big thing is to keep in mind is that a big chunk of their market is in China, which means they only get like 25% of that
Right.
compared to the normal like 40 to 50%. So the movie is doing it's great on them because it sounds like it's a worthwhile movie. I'm gonna try to see it at some point before it leaves theaters, but
Yeah.
um, it's gonna be a sad world if this doesn't manage to outdo Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, I hope it does outdo Thor: Love and Thunder because from what I'm hearing, it's a better movie.
Most things are.
Oh, yeah.
If it's hurt by anything, it's the fact that the last couple of Marvel movies were not great. So yeah, you're kind of it's always like the reaction is always to your last movie.
Hmm.
So you have a bunch of duds in a row, and you overwhelm people with Disney Plus, and it's not a good time.
Nope. Yeah.
But speaking of Disney, they're at the top of the watching at home charts this week, with
Yeah.
Avatar: The Way of Water still at number one, which is interesting because Ant-Man is in there now.
Yeah.
So you might have expected that to displace it, but apparently not.
And of course, Avatar hits Disney Plus on June 7th.
Wow, where has this year gone?
I don't know.
It feels like it should still be March.
Yeah.
But we have a few things that have been sitting here. Jesus Revolution, 80 for Brady. Beautiful Disaster is a new one that I don't know anything about.
No, it looks like a teen romance movie or young adult romance movie.
Yeah, Relationships Gone Wrong, Past Catching Up With You.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You got Scream 6 debuting.
Hmm?
Plane.
Plane.
That one's actually holding in there pretty well.
Yeah.
Magic Mike. That movie bombed.
Oh yeah.
Man
Called
Auto.
which is on Netflix.
Yeah, so it is.
Hmm.
And Cocaine Bear's about.
Hmm.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, I do too. Just for the lulz.
Yellowstone. Puss in Boots hanging in the top 20. The Whale.
Oh.
Champions. That sounded like that was like, so that's like Woody Harrelson with the team of people with Down syndrome, I think.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Oh, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey emerged. Megan. Out of contact.
Pitch Perfect 3?
Yeah, that came out last year.
Oh, jeez.
Now, by the way, a past mystery I think I may have partially solved. So the DEG charts tracks digital purchases, digital rentals, and Redbox rentals. So we'd be wondering, what the heck is the enormous weight of massive talent doing on this chart at the low rungs when
Yeah.
it was like a year old and hadn't really been on there when we've been looking? I happened to park in front of a Redbox. I noticed it was on like the bottom row of the Redbox. So I wonder if they did some sort of deal with them.
Yeah, they must have.
Because that was a weird anomaly.
Yeah.
But so as far as new major releases, this weekend we get the new Transformers movie. I don't know that I have a lot of expectation for that to perform.
Yeah, I think I had that on my list of interested movies in this summer. It'd be I don't know. Yeah,
Isn't the length like 3.5 hours or something insane like that?
is it really?
Find out.
Yeah, if I know Transformers movies tend to be have ridiculously long running times.
1 hour and 57 minutes. Where was I hearing 3 hours? I think I might have even been watching Changus's show and they mentioned that. So I don't know where.
That's about what Bumblebee was. I think Bumblebee was like 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's because Michael Bay isn't directing them, so they're not bloated messes.
Right. We have Steve Capel Jr. We'll see if it's capable hands. Oh. You're right to shun my pun.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, that's the box office. Speaking of Marvel, okay. Speaking of Marvel, look, they can't all be winning transitions.
Yes.
So, it has been spoiled that Marvel Comics is killing off Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, in the next issue of Amazing Spider-Man. This was apparently leaked by accident. I believe it may have been the editor. 2 blurry images appeared on Twitter, and he could not take them down fast enough, if it is who I think it was.
Oh.
So, Daniel, do you have much of an opinion on Miss Marvel?
Um, Not really. My only opinion is that she's just kind of a. I hate to use the word token, but um, kind of a token character.
The tragedy of Miss Marvel, and it hadn't really occurred to me until I heard Aaron Sparrow saying this on Wes's show, is that what she was unique, and then every new teen character became her.
Uh, and
Uh,
this is the second most stupid Marvel move. What would be the first?
yeah, honestly, for me, this doesn't even crack the top 20 of the last few years. The stupid move was okay. So basically, I remember reading the first volume of Ms. Marvel written by G. Willow Wilson,
Yeah.
and it's very slice of life, which that isn't a bad thing if that's kind of upfront about what you are, because if you get down to it, Ultimate Spider-Man was kind of the same sort of like slow roll deconstructed superhero comic.
Uh,
So and Kamala was charming, her family was charming, and what it was really about early on was about her kind of struggling with being a Muslim child of immigrants in a larger American society, which sounds like it's funny is that nowadays I roll my eyes because that's what every single comic is about.
yeah.
Except it just replace Muslim child of immigrants with insert thing here, right?
Yeah. Insert oppressed class here. Yeah.
Right. Um, and they even like were dealing with the fact that in her first volume she could shapeshift, which is a power they completely have forgotten that she has. And she
Mm,
ended up turning into a version of Carol Danvers, who was her greatest hero. So I was like kind of talking a little bit about race and self-perception, things like that. And it's like it was doing interesting things, but then everybody else started doing it, and they took the character and they shoved her into the Avengers.
yeah.
You know why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. God.
You know why Spider-Man wasn't an Avenger for the longest time? Because it's not something that Peter needs to be interesting.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. It just. I mean. I have a hard time getting I have a hard time getting upset about this because I mean as the headline clearly said, oh yeah, Civil War II. Yeah, that was bad. um like this isn't the first, she's not the first comic book character to die in the comics and won't be the last, and it's probably highly likely that they're going to bring her back at some point. I mean, it's just
I mean, especially in the Ms. Marvel TV show where they hinted that she was a mutant and her powers were entirely different. This might be where they use the Krakoa stuff in X-Men to retcon her into a mutant instead of being an Inhuman, and change her powers to match the TV show, which might be an improvement because vague energy powers is better than giant hands.
yeah. I would agree with that. And
Also, is that a ray of sunlight going through her thigh gap? Interesting choice for a 16-year-old character, Marvel.
yeah. Yeah, Ninja Joe says, yeah, she's going to be back in 6 months.
Yeah, it is funny how Marvel keeps killing off characters right before they are going to be in a movie. They did that with
Yeah.
Doctor Strange too, before Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, it's a very interesting marketing tactic.
I would almost call it anti-marketing. I've heard
Yeah.
Comics Perch speculate that it's almost like they don't want to be told what to do in the comics.
Yeah. That sounds likely.
But now it sounds like and the weird thing is that not only is it happening at all, right before a movie comes out. But it's happening in Amazing Spider-Man, a character like she and Spider-Man have interacted before. There was a weird, cringy comic that I remember your boy Zach roasting, where she and Peter switched bodies and they lived each other's lives for a few days.
Ah, God, that old cliche.
Eh, And it's extra awkward because he's a minor girl. I remember he enjoyed the taste of her lip gloss because it was one of those types of comics.
I see.
But so you've got so you might say, well, why didn't they kill her in the pages of her own comic book? That's the other problem, is that her initial run was successful. Then they killed the Golden Goose, and the various relaunches and attempts haven't gone since. I heard somebody go, well, why didn't why is Peter there to mourn her when she's barely been a supporting character in his book recently? Shouldn't it should be the Champions or her parents? Well, if the Champions were around, nobody would have read it.
Yeah.
Because nobody liked the Champions. Even the original Champions that were Iceman and Hercules and Angel and Black Widow and Ghost Rider, they didn't succeed. There's a reason that book didn't last.
Yeah. And Ninjas to yeah. The insulting part is that it's in a Spider-Man comic book where we don't know why everyone hates Peter. so it looks like Kamala is the reason.
Yeah, which, man, it's life is so much easier once you decide that that Marvel Comics stopped publishing around 2015 or so. So nothing they can do can hurt your memories.
Yes, yeah.
Just, man, this.
Yeah. It's just
piles of stupid.
Yes, that's why buy indie.
Yes, buy indie. Yeah, it's a tragedy. This was a character that had a lot of potential, and for people who could stomach the TV show and didn't mind it being basically pointed at the Disney tween audience, it sounds like it was good until it stopped being about her? Question mark.
Mm.
And it turned into like the mystery of her powers, or like the Pakistani and Indian separation. It's just partition. That's the term.
Yeah.
But I guess my overall response is, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much mine too. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if the suspicion that they bring her back with different powers comes true, or if they don't think that far ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if they thought that far ahead. I mean, this is Marvel we're talking about here.
Yeah. Speaking of not thinking ahead, this was a breaking story, so it isn't on the marquee today.
Right.
But Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is closing permanently in September.
Yes. So this was this multi-million-dollar hotel that they built in California and in my neck of the woods here in Florida. It's basically just like you're staying in a Star Cruiser. Your room looks like the aesthetic of Star Wars, and all the cast members who work at the hotel. That's what they're. By the way, that's what employees are called at Disney. They're called cast members. That was Walt's idea because the whole thing is a show. It's a stage, and yeah, they're all like they're all playing like characters in Star Wars, and they have all these like different games and stuff and things that you do when you're staying at the hotel. And it was also very expensive.
Yeah, I think it was it six? It wasn't 6,000 for one person, was it? It was like 6,000 for like a family suite.
I think that's right. Yeah, per night.
I thought, whether it was per night or for 2 nights, basically,
too. Yeah.
it was less expensive to just go on a Disney cruise. And in the Disney cruise, you'd spend more than 2 days doing it, for one thing.
Right.
And you'd get to go to real places.
Yeah. Yeah, it was from what I've heard about it, it was overpriced, and basically all of the amenities weren't worth what you were paying. And according to, I know Chris Gore has talked about it, you're spending most of the time staring at your phone.
Right, because they have apps to help you organize things.
Right. Um, which is, I would say that's actually kind of a problem with Disney World in general. Is everything is through the app, so you're constantly looking at your phone almost the entire time you're at the park.
Which is like an anti-vacation.
Yeah.
And they've done various things to try to, it debuted strong just because there's a certain number of whales who have more money than they know what to do with will go, and then it started like really dropping off, and so they started doing discounts and things like that to try to build up capacity, and it's ultimately was just not making the money to justify its existence. So I guess if you want to get in while you can.
Yeah, and actually, it wouldn't surprise me if it wouldn't be hard to get in now that they announced that
Right.
it's closing.
Right, because anybody who is kind of on the fence about it is going to want to have that experience.
Right. Yeah, and just if nothing else, to say they did it.
Right, like to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
I guess that's I guess that canceling it is one way to drive up demand.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm speaking from personal experience with there are quite a few things at Disney that I did that I was kind of like, well, at least I did it.
Yeah. So, so that gets us out of the news portion. So now it's time to talk about our uh, our independent entertainment company of the week.
Yes.
Introduce it. It's something that kind of shows what you get from that company, as well as just how crazy devoted the fans are.
Yes.
Would you guys
Blonde
rather
hair.
eat a baby goat or a matter baby?
What do you want?
No, I won't fall for it again.
A baby goat or a matter baby?
What's a matter, baby?
Nothing much, sugar. What's the matter with you?
I even gave you a warning, Sonia.
Poor Coroni.
Poor Granny.
I'm in pain.
What's the matter, baby?
All right, so Motoki Tanigo was a Japanese man with an interest in technology who had a dream. That dream was actually not to found a company of idols. Originally, and if you look up the company on Steam, they still actually have a few VR games up there. He seemed to be interested in 3D and VR development. The idea from what I've been told and heard in videos, the idea of the whole of getting into virtual VTubing came about because Tokino Sora, the first of their stable, actually approached his company about it.
Okay.
And boy, has it paid off. So before we get into the financials, let's have a quick look at what Cover has to say about themselves. So they actually have a mission statement right here. And it's noteworthy that they have a Japanese and an English page. Together, let's create culture loved by all. We are continuing to build a platform to bring together unique and diverse content creators with dazzling abilities while providing a stage for them to perform to the fullest. We create brand new experiences of the highest quality by utilizing cutting edge technologies. We bring about the best possible 2D entertainment loved by all, transcending age, gender, and nationality. To bring all this to fruition, we continue to challenge the norm.
Very good mission statement there.
Yes, and basically they're trying to promote Japanese entertainment culture. Now, the form that this has taken is, it occurs to me that was a fan animation you were watching there, might not give somebody who hadn't actually seen one of these before a decent idea of what it was. So let's watch a little bit of a promotional video that they filmed for the Nishin packaged food company.
Yes.
So they use, actually going to play a little bit here because this is actually a song you can listen to on Spotify. Spoiler alert. So it may get us claimed, so let's just watch a little bit. Yeah, it's basically anime girls with motion capture. Specifically, you have a stable of streamers and performers who, most of the time, they're doing what's called the live 2D, which is kind of like a more flat view. Let's see if we can find a good example of that. And we won't worry about it. Basically, it's a drawn-looking anime character where it uses technology similar to Microsoft's old Kinect to track your motions and map them onto the character.
Oh, nice.
So how has this paid off for them? When I heard somewhere that they had that they had gone public, and I said, okay, well, I wonder what's the actual value of the company. And someone was like, oh, that would be very hard to dig up. Turned out that Market Watch happened to have it. So we've got, now these are all in yen. And fortunately, I had the foresight to pop this in. Fun fact. The Microsoft Calculator actually has a built-in currency conversion function, which is very handy.
Yes.
The company's stock market or total market capital value translates to about $890 US. This is kind of nuts because that's the kind of in Silicon Valley investing, they talk about unicorn companies who are the ones who can get to $1 billion market valuation. And this is this is an outside entertainment company that just kind of stumbled into this to an extent.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, since they settled on that path, they've had a very disciplined growth strategy, but still, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at how much money they actually make, now this chart is backwards here. You'll notice that it looks like their revenue declined 50%, but that's because I suspect that the charts that MarketWatch pulled from to make this page automatically were laid out in Japanese style, so that it was reading right to left on that one, so the years are wrong.
Yeah.
So for 2022, they made about $100 million in revenue, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
With a profit of $9 million,
Mm.
which is very respectable.
Yeah.
I suspect that part of the reason they went public is they recently completed a 2 billion yen 2 billion yen worth of to make a giant 3D recording studio, which has a couple of interesting factors. One, this means that they no longer have to rent the space. Two, if it's not being used, they can rent it out to other people for motion capture and the like.
Yeah. Ninja Toe says, yeah, people are into anime girls who act nice on the camera. Also funny clips. Yeah.
Yes, they are. And let's take a look at a couple of highlights of the company's success. First off, their most subscribed member on YouTube is Gargura, who is currently sitting at 4.31 million subscribers with an M.
Yes.
Now, this is no PewDiePie or Mr. Beast or whatnot, but for something that's kind of niche, this is rather insane.
Yeah. Actually, more than a lot of the the political commentators too.
Right. Like, let's pick on how many Gargoras is Tim Pool? Yeah, he is 1/3 of a Gargora.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim. Maybe try to be cuter.
Yes.
No, don't play that. But you can go, okay, well, there are lots of channels that have millions upon millions of subscribers, but very few people are actually still active.
Mhm.
This seemed like Hololive was just a fad in 2020. We'll ignore the revenue amount there. Nobody's watching it anymore, are they? Well, a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 most watched female streamers in Q1 of 2023 are Hololive members,
Yeah.
with Pecora being number 1. This is what we call mildly insane because, Amaranth is kind of a household name in the sense that I have no idea what she does, but I recognize the name. So I assume other people know her.
I don't even think Amaranth knows what Amaranth does.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
Yeah.
They're also interesting in that they kind of reverse the streaming, that's the live streaming wars, because their main platform is YouTube, where I believe that Twitch is still a bigger source for streaming than YouTube at this point.
I think
It
so. Yeah.
It was the last time I looked.
Especially gaming streams. Yeah.
Right, which is mostly what Hololive does. Now, on a level, you could see it as kind of negative and parasocial because it's like a fake girlfriend or whatever.
Right.
So, on the other hand, um, it's just like that clip I saw there. It's just legitimately funny moments by entertainers riffing live,
Mhm.
and they are supported by a huge fan community, as well as a whole ecosystem of what they call clippers, who are basically people who go, okay, people are too busy to watch 3, 5, 10-hour streams sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's just cut out the good. Well, I'll just watch the stream and I'll cut out the good parts and put it up on YouTube for ad money. And Whole Life had the sense, or Cover Corp had the sense not to go after these people, and for technically stealing their property, because it's the best advertisement they get.
Yes, and it doesn't make them look like jerks.
Yes, it makes the fans happy, makes everyone happy. They're also very amenable to fan games as long as they don't cross certain lines. Among them is a recent fighting game that debuted on Steam to large success. I was like, wait, how can it? It just debuted on Steam for no money. Like, apparently, the distribution on Steam does not go against their rules. Because it's free advertising.
Yeah.
It is a level of creativity that I have not seen in any fan base outside of Bronies, and this is way less cringy.
Yeah.
Now you might that $100 million of revenue really surprised me initially, because I'd had in my head that their money came from YouTube ads, super chats, and memberships. And they have, between their male division, Holostars, Hololive English, Hololive Japan, Hololive Indonesia, they're very multinational. The fighting game is also, fighting game is free. But between these different branches, I was like doing the mental math, like, okay, so Coco and Rushia back in like 2020 were unusual for breaking the $1 million lifetime super chats barrier. Where is this? Even if all like 60-ish members, roughly counting, were getting $1 million in super chats a year, that would not get you 100 million. Where is that coming from? And the answer is that they're actually significantly more mainstream in Japan than you might think. I forgot to pull this up, but they've been running ad campaigns in some of the busiest train stations in Japan with ads where you have the girls superimposed next to a person, like one of the members almost said it sounded like a cult. Hololive, your new daily habit, or something like that. And they had the wall just covered in posters of all the girls. Like they are big in Japan.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because it's basically, I think that part of their success is that they have drawn a line for themselves where they don't cross it into being, way too dirty with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still there's still a wholesomeness to it. Yeah, as opposed to like being overly edgy. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's because they founded it as an idol agency, and Japanese idol agencies are kind of notorious in some ways for being controlling over their stables.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they got the same issue in Korea too.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. And that's actually a good. It's when a friend of mine who is kind of a J-pop or excuse me, K-pop stan, as I started encountering his cultural events, it really did remind me of the whole life culture. But okay, so where that $100 million come from? Well,
Yes.
apparently there are lots of whole life branded foods around. Like if you like go to for snacking and such.
Mm.
They also sell a lot of merchandise, and they find excuses to make merchandise for the favorites. So that your favorite is doing things like this is Mel. She's a vampire, and it's her 5th anniversary of being a streamer, which makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I became aware of it in 2020, and she is. And it's, in the back of my head, it's like, well, she's only been at it for 2 years. Oh wait,
Yeah.
the cruel march of time.
Yeah.
But they'll have special event merchandise, anniversaries, birthdays. Yeah, here's one of the guys who I don't really recognize.
Yeah.
You'll have another birthday set. It's a very Japanese thing to buy like these voice packs, which is just the characters saying various lines that you can play on repeat. It's interesting.
Yeah.
You also have toys.
Mhm.
More celebrations. They've even started having live concerts. Now these are done online, although I could see a day in the future where I think they have had some venues where they kind of did the Gorillas thing and had them projected,
Ah.
but I'm not sure. And they've just got a wide variety of branches and characters. And actually, this is a good sample here. There is odds are most people out there, if they were to spend some time, they would find a performer that they liked.
Mhm.
Because they cast a wide net for tastes and personalities. Heck, while the audience is majority men, I even know some women who are into the whole VTuber thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, costume changes.
Yes, the costume change comes out. It's a major event.
Yeah.
You also I've also started seeing these toys show up in U.S. shops, not just online either. When I was at SakuraCon, there was a decent amount of Hololive merch sitting around.
Wow. Well, to quote Spaceballs, merchandising, where the real money is made.
Yep. So that's kind of who Hololive is. So let's talk about takeaway lessons. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know a group of talented 20 to 30 somethings that I could have stream for me by sitting in front of a YouTube channel and make me money.
Yeah.
I don't think we can apply. I don't think we can compete with Cover Corp.
Yeah. And hey, Chengus, good to see you. Yeah, we are talking VTubers.
Yep. Specifically, we're doing a Cover Corp company profile.
Yes.
They're worth nearly $1 billion in stock.
Yeah.
At least their market cap is. So, but okay, yeah, that's
take-
right. So we don't know again, I don't have a stable of 20 to 30 something talented streamers who I can buy VTuber rigs for and put them to work. So darn, that plan is out the door.
Yeah.
So I think that our bigger lesson is that people still are attracted to attractive ladies,
Hmm.
no matter what Dove says.
Yes. Or Miller Light. Yeah.
Yep. This is to an extent preying on male proclivities, is the way I'll put it.
Hmm.
But as long as everybody's enjoying themselves, no harm done.
Right. Yeah.
As long as everybody simps responsibly, and although you see some of these live streams and you're just kind of astounded at people dropping, $100 super chats left and right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as they're spending wisely.
Yep. If it makes them happy,
Yeah.
and they can afford it, then no harm done.
Yes.
So I think that the lesson we can take away from Hololive is that, as Holy Ninja said earlier, people aren't anime girls who act nice on the camera. Also funny clips. So beauty and comedy are still excellent paths to riches.
Yes.
So I guess as two beautiful or non-beautiful men, I think that our best path is to create characters who can scratch those itches for people.
Yeah, and I would say we've got our fair share of beauties in our IPs. So
Yep. What I need to do is to actually have a way to monetize that beauty rather than have it just be in descriptions. But that's a later problem.
yeah.
But so in conclusion, Cover Corp, it's a company that I think has a good goal. It's nice to see a independent group like that just blow up in the course of, I want to say, 6 years or so.
Yeah.
No, they say 2016 Cover Corp, so I think 7 years maybe of this particular business model. And we didn't even get into like all the different things they do. Like if you go to Spotify, there's songs all over the place. They have so many revenue streams. I think that might be the other takeaway is have more than one way for people to like you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely an important lesson. Yeah.
It reminds me of the SpongeBob thing where he had the pretty patties where he had like all the different colors of Krabby Patties, and the guy was just mocking him mercilessly. This is a stupid idea. Wait, is that a purple one? Give it.
Yeah.
And the reason I mentioned that is that, like I said, odds are most people would be able to find one who entertained them, but also,
Mhm.
let's say you had somebody who thought the whole waifu thing was stupid, and they didn't want to go with it. Well, let's see here. I had this tab open earlier. You've had some singers like Suisse actually go on to legitimate programs like the one, the first take, and blow the audience away there, who was like, heck is a VTuber doing on a show that's supposed to showcase live Japanese music?
Yeah.
Then she blew them away because she's an amazing singer.
Yeah.
There is also, let's hear, there was some other way that they made. Oh yeah, also one of them, Subaru, has a TV show.
Yeah.
where she brings on music performers.
Yeah.
So they're a going concern.
Yeah.
And that's part of what inspired this. Was we often talk about failures like killing Ms. Marvel off, or Guardians of the Galaxy still kind of having a rough ride to profitability. So it's good sometimes to remember that there are companies out there that that actually pay attention to their primary demographic.
Yes. Yeah, it's always important to highlight alternatives. People who are actually, like I said, doing a good job at entertaining, and they're not, they don't hate the people they're trying to entertain.
Or if they do, they are extremely good at hiding it.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up that particular story for the night.
Yes. That was a lot of fun to talk about.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Daniel, don't cut this out. Another one right now. Maury Calliope is doing a sponsor for stream for Raid Shadow Legends. Oh, you've fallen to the dark side. Oof.
Yeah. Well, that's how it
Speaking of
goes.
which, if Raid Shadow Legends wants to give us money to go, we'll talk about how much we love it. We swear.
Yeah. Yes. I would love to say. This is our tonight's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
Yes.
Uh,
All right. Now we're really done.
Okay, yes, now we're really done. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate it as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications. If you're watching this on replay, leave a comment down below. And we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.